Sri Sachidananda Sadguru Sainath Maharaj Ki Jai. Sri Sai Satcharitra, an Insight, Episode 81. My humble prostrations at the lotus feet of our Sadguru Sai. By the divine grace of Sai, an attempt has been made to translate the gist of the divine discourse of Sri Ramanathan Brother telecasted in Sai TV. This is purely done to share the glory of Sai and his divine teachings with more insight to the aspirants. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurur Sakshat Parabrahmam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. We have been listening to the most fascinating Leela of Uddhavesh Buva and his karmic ties with Sadguru Sai. Now, let us continue to heed to the most exciting experience that led him to his Moksha Guru, Shirdi Sainath Maharaj. Uddhavesh Buva and few pilgrims were on a pilgrimage from Varda to Rameshwaram, and en route they had darshan of Sri Gajanan Maharaj, who then directed him to Harihar Baba of Shivli. When Uddhavesh had darshan of Harihar Baba, he who never spoke anything except saying Harihar observed the divine energy that was emerging from Uddhavesh and instantly guided through gestures that the Guru who could grant liberation is waiting for him in a place that rhymed with Shivli and is situated in the western direction. True to Baba's pronouncements, I will at once draw him to me as a sparrow is pulled with a string tied to its feet. Baba has decided to draw the sparrow Uddhavesh Bua to Shiradi. Devotees, just imagine the plight of Shamdas. He becomes so anxious as he got another clue that the abode of his Guru will rhyme with the name Shivli. So now his mind was just lingering upon this thought who and where his Guru could be. He, along with the party, continued the journey, which was as such moving towards the west direction to Shivli. Shyamdas decided to visit all the saints that he might come across throughout the journey. Though the purpose of this pilgrimage itself was to visit the famous temples and great saints, but Shyamdas was not prepared to overlook the darshan of any self realized one. Hence, he would ask the group to excuse him and would quickly run to visit whichever sage or saint he heard of. Shyamdas always had loved to visit saints and sadhus, but now the quest for his guru has added more earning to his pursuit, and he fully utilized this pilgrimage in finding his guru. He felt the need of a vehicle or an animal to use for his commuting. Hence, he asked the party to give him a horse, riding upon which he can quickly go to the dwellings of the saints in that region while the rest of them are resting. They said there is just one untrained horse which would behave very wild and has an unwanted behavior of biting and kicking. Many became victims of its bites and kicks. However, Shyamdas, a courageous one, didn't care or fear about this as his mind was completely engrossed in the quest of his guru and only aimed at having a means of transportation for the search. Hence, he borrowed that horse and rode upon it. Now the group of pilgrims reached the banks of river Godavari and came to a place known as Belapur. There they had the darshan of Keshav Govind Samadhi and reached Kopargaon, which was just 11 miles away from Shiradi. Until then, Uddhavesh Buva didn't think of Shiradi as that was a very small village and not as popular as other pilgrimage centers. But now, Uddhavesh Bua's mind has already listed out the great saints living in and around Kopargaon, and Shirdi Sai Baba was also one among those. Moreover, in the olden days, Shirdi was known as Shiladi, and even now the government of Maharashtra's old Gazette papers bear the name Shiladi instead of Shirdi, and the same was in practice during the British rule also. The meaning of Shirdi is explained very crisply in the book titled Shiladi, authored by Dr. Keshav B. Gavankar. The term Shiladi can be split into two words. Shila means a mountain and Di means buddhi or intellect. Thus, the meaning of Shiladi is that the village whose intellect is as calm or serene as a mountain. So, Shiladi is the village that brings calm and peace to the flitting mind. It is also a seat of spiritual learning where, to the capability and eagerness of a devotee, Baba imparts wisdom, enabling them to progress in their spiritual quest, leading them to attain liberation. Shiladi also means a place filled with sugarcane fields. Uddhavesh Buva was certain that the abode of his Moksha Guru could be Shiladi, as that rhymes with Shivli, which was earlier indicated by Harihar Baba. Uddhavesh Buva rode upon the horse and reached Shiradi in the year 1904. Let me try to bring to the listener's eyes the scenes of Shiradi that was a century ago. Baba attained Mahasamadhi during the year 1918, and Uddhavesh Bua's first visit to Shiradi happened in the year 1904, and in the intermediary period of 14 years, Shiradi became very popular, witnessed greater miracles, and saw bigger evolution. Uddhavesh Bua reached Shiradi. He has never seen Shiradi Sai Baba. He had no clue of his whereabouts or appearance. Those days, Shirdi was a desolate place with abundant babul trees. The present Lendibag was also filled with thorny bushes and bubble trees, and there were very few houses in this Shirdi hamlet. Uddhavesh Buva got down from his horse in a place quite far from the dilapidated masjid and tied his horse to one of the bubble trees, taking care to muzzle his mouth and his hind legs to another tree for fear that he may attack the walkers in that path. Just then, when he looked around, he saw a fakir wearing a torn kafni, a headgear, holding a tin tumbler in his hand, wandering aimlessly. Uddhavesh thought of enquiring this fakir about Sri Sai Baba. Hence, Uddhavesh Bua approached him very politely and asked him with all humility, "May you please tell me where the saint of Shirdi stay? I would like to visit him." In no time, the fakir got enraged and poured volley of abuses. Uddhavesh Buva couldn't make out the reason for this anger. He was deeply disturbed and his feelings were hurt by what the fakir spoke. He felt that this old fakir is an uncivilized and irritable person, that he didn't even know to answer a simple question, instead showering abuses upon me and my ancestors. With a heavy heart, he reached the old dilapidated mosque. Next to the Dwarakamai, he found a small hut, and inside which an old lady was preparing bakar and pitla, kind of flat bread and side dish. Uddhavesh Bua inquired her about Shirdi Sai Baba. She told him that he had gone out and none can say when he would return. She added that the roti and sabzi is getting prepared to offer him. He was more curious, hence asked the lady to describe Sainath Maharaj's appearance. The lady began to give all the specifics that he wears a torn, tattered, long kafni, headgear, his complexion, and his belongings. Uddavesh Bua got the hint that the fakir whom he met few minutes ago and who had showered him with abuses was none other than Shirdi Sai Baba. Now, Uddavesh Bua was curious to get into Dwarakamai, and there was just a small mud wall in between. So he tried to peek and found that the masjid was clean and neat, and in a corner, four lamps were burning. Next to it was a hand mill and some old and faded marigold garlands and some fresh ones too. He also found the sacred fire, that is the duni, which was burning in front of the pillar. Uddavesh Bua was puzzled about the lighted lamps and wondered how it is feasible for him to maintain the sacred fire in a mosque, as Muslims don't have the custom of lighting lamps or preserving fire in the masjid. The entire scene of Dwarakamai was not explicable by him. This is what in the later years Dashganu Maharaj had penned down in his hymn of praise to Lord Sai Baba, titled as Stavana Manjari. He beautifully describes the contradictions that any layman can observe from Baba's appearance, dress code, the articles used by him, like the hand mill, then preserving of the sacred fire, and his daily routine, which goes thus: the masjid being your dwelling, you're worshipping the fire. Some say you are a Muslim, some say you are a Brahmin. Thus, like Krishna, you too are inscrutable. Though Uddavesh Bua's mind had numerous questions, as soon as he reached Dwarakamai, the serenity of the place granted him peace of mind and gave him a clear understanding that his moksha guru must be Shirdi Sai Baba. So he decided to wait for Baba's return and walked back to the spot where he left his horse. Lo, there he was astonished to see Baba patting the head of Uddavesh Bua's horse on one hand, and the other hand he had kept on the horse's mouth inside its muzzle. Out of concern, spontaneously Uddavesh Bua cautioned, "Be careful, Maharaj. This is a wild creature, and he bites viciously." Sainath Maharaj is the creator, sustainer, and destroyer of the universe. He is omnipresent and all pervading. Won't he know how to control this wild creature? He smiled gently on hearing the words of Uddavesh Bua. That smile was enigmatic and represented tranquility. Now, when Uddavesh Bua looked at Sainath Maharaj, the love for Baba overflowed in his heart. He forgot all the abuses that Baba had showered upon him few minutes earlier. His joy knew no bounds. He ran towards Baba and prostrated at his feet. Baba, who was patting the horse until then, now stroked his hands gently over the back of Uddavesh Bua, and the latter was of the firm conviction that Baba was his guru. Though Baba didn't declare it explicitly, Uddavesh Bua was made to realize the divine presence of his Moksha Guru. What an astounding Leela this could be! His mind attained calmness, and a sense of peace pervaded his whole being. Now he wants Baba to confirm his thoughts. Hence, Uddavesh Bua posed this burning question: Maharaj, where and when will I find my Guru? Baba, patting the horse, answered, Kalel Pudi, tu kotun alas, mi tarveda fakir hai, which means, you will realize in future where you come from. I am but a mad fakir. Devotees might recall the chapter in Sri Sai Satcharitra in which a rich person approached Sri Sai Baba seeking Brahmanyana, and Baba expounded the qualifications for a seeker of self realization and refused to grant him as he was not qualified to attain that. Sainath's ways are inscrutable. He will confer the divine light upon the aspirant and grant the nectar of immortality only when the seeker possesses all the requisite qualifications. Now, both Baba and Uddavesh Bua returned to Masjid, and Sri Sai Baba told Uddavesh Bua, after 5 years, everything will be clear. You can leave today and do upvas. Just then, some devotee had left a coconut offering. Baba broke it and gave half to Uddavesh Bua and said, Are, how can a whole bucket go down the stomach all at once? You will realize in 5 years. At that time, we will see. Which means the knowledge of the self must be imparted slowly and steadily to the seeker, and none can traverse this path on their own and has to go through the process with the guidance of a guru. There are no shortcuts for that. Devotees, how blessed Uddavesh Bua could be to have the sacred remnants of coconut consumed by Baba. This is termed as Uchishta, and the devotee is prescribed to eat the Uchishta of his Guru, which is regarded as consecrated food. In Sri Sai Satcharitra, we have come across the Leela of Mrs. Aurangabadkar seeking Baba's grace for a progeny, and she approached Baba through Shyama, and Baba blessed her, saying that she will have a baby in 12 months. At that instant, she offered a coconut, and that was broken into two parts. One was given to that lady, and the other half was eaten by Baba and Shyama, which is similar as the above incident. Having eaten the consecrated coconut, Uddavesh Bua bowed to Baba and left to Kopergaon to join the rest of the group and continued his pilgrimage. I just mentioned that Shyam Das and Shyama were the two blessed souls who partook Baba's Uchishta Prasadam of coconut. Similarly, two ardent devotees were directed to Shirdi Sai Baba by various great saints, and finally they reached their Moksha Guru's abode, and those were Shyam Das, alias Uddavesh Bua, and Pujya Sri Narasimha Swamiji. The akarshana of Sai Baba was so powerful in drawing Narasimha Swamiji to himself. Let us have a glimpse of Narasimha Swamiji's childhood, his life, turning point, quest for Guru, and his divine journey with Sainath Maharaj. Narasimha was born in the year 1874 in a very rich and pious family at Bhavani in the Erode district of Tamil Nadu. At the age of 5, the family astrologer predicted that he would live over 80 years and will be a great person of eminence and would guide the destinies of thousands of persons. But in the same stroke, the astrologer added a tangential mark that there is a possibility of Narasimha renunciating his family to become a sadhu later. Sri Narasimha Iyer had a brilliant educational career. He graduated from the Madras Christian College and the BL examination from Madras Law College. He joined the bar at Salem and rendered justice in the law courts. He was very much feared as he was a lion among all, also a fiery nationalist challenging the British might. He also had a lot of social work to his credit. When he was in the peak of career and politics, there was a sudden stroke of a terrible tragedy that changed his life course. His two children, aged 15 and 13 years, accidentally fell into the well of his bungalow and died, which made him to renounce all worldly pursuits. He completed the reconstruction work of the Lakshmi Narayana temple in Salem and left to pilgrimage as a mendicant with no money in his pocket to various spiritual centers to seek truth. His first trip was to Shankar Mutt at Sringeri. Jagadguru Shankaracharya Sri Chandrasekhara Bharati Mahaswamigal initiated him to chant Panchakshari mantra Om Namah Shivaya and directed him to Tiruvannamalai. Narasimha Swamiji stayed in Tiruvannamalai for 3 years in one of the caves, observing silence, studying Vedanta, and closely observing Sri Ramana Maharishi's life, and wrote a book titled Self Realization in English, depicting a deep insight into the life and work of Sri Ramana Maharishi, which resulted in drawing many seekers from Europe and America to flock to Tiruvannamalai. Then in August 1929, Narasimha Swamiji requested Ramana Maharishi as to when he would be bestowed with peace of mind. Ramana Maharishi intently looked at Narasimha Swamiji and told him, I am not your guru. Your guru is waiting for you in the north. You will attain realization from him. With the blessings of Sri Ramana, he continued his quest for a guru. As a mendicant, he was penniless and has to walk or travel in a vehicle if someone offers a lift. Swamiji was waiting for the greatest blessing of meeting a God man who could transform him fully. On the road, a friendly lorry driver offered him a lift and gave him tea and bread. As Narasimha Swamiji mentioned his search for a guru, the lorry driver offered him a suggestion that he was going to Hubli and a great saint by named Siddharuda Swamiji lives there. Narasimha Swamiji considered the lorry driver as God coming in that guise to help him. Siddharuda Swamiji was a great Siddha Purusha. Swamiji learned Sanskrit, various Vedanta texts, and studied Saivism. In 1930, Siddharuda Swamiji attained Mahasamadhi. So Narasimha Swamiji left the place and reached Pandharpur to meet his guru in the north. There, a companion sadhu advised him to meet Bapu Mai. Bapu Mai's peculiarities were that she wore an old loin cloth which she would not change for months, had a long hair, and carried small sticks tied together with dirty rags. If asked what it meant, she would reply, I have bound together the three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. I am beyond all three. She told Swamiji that your guru is waiting in the north. He will guide you suitably. Now go northwards to meet your guru. During all his wanderings, he traveled mostly on foot, never asked anyone for food or shelter, and would sleep under the bridges at night. Swamiji heard about a great Avaduta named Zipruana who sat on a heap of refuse, but his body was free from any trace of dust, dirt, or repulsive odor. When Swamiji bowed down to him, the saint dismissed him by saying, I am not your guru. Swamiji used to have severe headaches. When he mentioned it to Zipruana, the saint made Swamiji sit on his lap, licked his head, and blessed him by saying, Your fame will reach the highest heaven. And Swamiji was at once cured of his headaches. Then, in 1933, he reached Kedgon and sought guidance from Bet Narayana Maharaj. And there he learnt about Avatar Meher Baba. He was in vow of silence and communicated, I am not your guru. Your guru is waiting for you in the north. Then Swamiji met Upasani Maharaj at Sakori Ashram, which formed an important landmark in his spiritual pursuit. He collected possible information about the life of Upasani Maharaj and compiled the life and teachings and published a book, The Sage of Sakori, In August 1936, Narasimha Swamiji also visited the shrine of Tajuddin Baba at Nagpur. Upasani Maharaj advised Narasimha Swamiji to stick to the Bhakti Marga. Towards the end of August 1936, he decided to leave Upasani Maharaj ashram, and by now he may be said to have arrived at the very end of his search. Narasimha Swamiji heard about Shirdi, which was not far from Sakori. In fact, he wrote a chapter of how much Sai Baba had helped Upasani Maharaj in the book Sage of Sakori. Still, it did not occur to him to pay a visit to Sai Baba's Samadhi at Shirdi. Narasimha Swamiji decided to leave the ashram on the holy Shravan Purnima day. He was dejected. He could neither get a guru to guide him nor his confused mind. He decided to get back to Madras, now Chennai, to spend the rest of his life with his family. So, around 4 a.m., he left the ashram without informing Upasani Maharaj, fearing he might not permit him to leave. As he was crossing the cremation ground, a 6 foot tall, well built man of Pathan origin accosted him and directed him to go and have Sai Baba's Samadhi at Shirdi and said, "Go over to Shirdi once. Sai Baba is ever living and active. He will certainly help you in your spiritual upliftment." Now the persistent request of the Pathan made him to change his route. When Narasimha Swamiji reached Shirdi, it was 11 a.m. and Abdul Baba was fanning Sai Baba's Samadhi with peacock feathers. Swamiji visited the Samadhi of Sainath Maharaj, stood silently, and in a flash of a split second, a magnificent wave of Sai fire engulfed each one of the millions of cells in Swamiji's body and in lieu thereon granted him a new life. The old body of Narasimha Swamiji was no more, and it became Sai Swarupi Narasimha Swamiji. Narasimha Swamiji gained something from Ramana Bhagavan, then a spark from every spiritual master. More gains at Sakori, and Shirdi gave to his maximum capacity. And today, the world is receiving high dividends from Narasimha Swamiji even at this moment. Swamiji was acclaimed as the greatest apostle of Sainath Maharaj. He discovered his moksha guru and presented him to the world. Narasimha Swamiji, the saintly and blessed soul who was thus mysteriously drawn to Sainath Maharaj, dedicated his entire later life and energies to the task of ceaseless and vigorous propagation of the mission, miracles, and messages of Sri Sai Baba across the people throughout India. He collected lot of information from Sai devotees and their statements and published books under the name Devotees' Experiences of Sri Sai Baba. This was a monumental publication. He wrote more than half a dozen books in English, and those were translated into Tamil and various Indian and foreign languages. And if today in India there is hardly a town or city where Shirdi Sai Baba is not known, it is entirely due to the remarkable zeal and selfless service of Swamiji, and based on his publicity and the books compiled and written by him, served as the starting point for understanding the greatness of Baba, which is being felt now across the world, including the smallest countries in different directions. To give further impetus to Sai Baba movement, he felt the need of holding All India Sai Devotees Conventions annually, and the first convention was held in Mylapore, Chennai in the year 1946. His Holiness Sri Narasimha Swamiji laid a firm foundation for the Sai movement by 1956 and left his mortal coil and merged in Baba. As a result of all these efforts, today, lakhs of people visit Shirdi and enjoy the divine grace of Sainath Maharaj. Sai Baba gave his greatest treasure to Narasimha Swamiji, and that was passed on to Radha Krishna Swamiji, which is now the most precious gift of the world. By the grace of Sai Baba, many Sai philosophers, Sai preachers, writers like Madam Vinny Chitluri, and numerous Sai Ankitas are passing this baton of light, that is the gospel of the greatest immortal avatar Sai Baba, to the future generation. Simply listening to the valuable teachings of this greatest incarnation will annihilate our sins. It develops trust through shared experiences and by applying the teachings in our daily life and demonstrating a steadfast faith in Sai Baba in the midst of disagreements and difficulties, we are sure to attain the goal of life. Complete surrender of tan, man, and dhan is the only way to achieve Guru's grace. Every one of us can become Sai's beloved child. Should not every one of us enjoy the bliss that Pujya Sri Narasimha Swamiji experienced? Sai's doors are always open for us. Let us step in with Shraddha and Saburi. I am certain and I assure you from my experiences that our most beloved Mother Sai will embrace us and shower her divine blessings upon us. Devotees, I can never put an end to my narration. My soul is filled with His divine love. When I think Sai is mine, oh yes, He is ours, then this love for Sai is gushing from my heart upon which I have no control. I must close this episode somewhere. So now let me leave the listeners to enjoy their Sai bliss. To conclude, it is Shyamdas and Narasimha Swamiji who were drawn towards Baba, directed by various spiritual masters, and ultimately reached the abode of their Moksha Guru to enjoy bliss supreme. There are more fascinating Leelas related to Udavesh Buva, which I shall reserve for the next episode. Bow to Sri Sai, peace be to all. Om Sai Ram.